Good evening, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host, Ahmad Nawaz. Tonight, we're going to start off with cricket. The West Indies team has arrived in Pakistan to play a 3 T20 international series and 3 one-day internationals as well against Pakistan. All matches will be held in Karachi. The first T20 international starts on the 13th, the second one on the 14th, then a break of a day, and then 16th, the third T20, and then subsequently we'll move on to an ODI series. Captain Babar Azam has been very particular that he wants to rest some of his senior players, and that's why in the squad we saw some of the players being rested, including Shoaib Malik, Mohammad Hafiz, and even Hassan Ali. And they have gone with some other options. They've even included Mohammad Hasnain into the squad as well. So this could be a series where Pakistan tries a couple of options, considering the fact that we've got a World Cup in Australia. Maybe we can make a team until then. And then, of course, conditions over there are going to be a bit different. So there is another debate going on where a couple of our players should go and play the Big Bash League as well. So you know a bit about that as well in between. After that, we'll be talking about the Ashes, Test cricket, Ashes, the spectacle of the game. After being bowled out for 147, England found it very hard to contain Australia, who on the second day scored 343 runs for 7 wickets, and they now lead by 196 runs. Travis Head is unbeaten on 112. We had David Warner scoring 94, Marnus Labuschagne also making more than 70 runs. Apart from that, if you talk about Harris, Steve Smith, or Alex Carey as well, they couldn't get anything off the bat. So, things continue to be difficult for England because news that came in was that Ben Stokes is now undergoing some medical tests as well because he's injured. He's got an injury niggle as well. They're not going with Anderson Broad this match as well. So, a lot more pressure if you talk about Ollie Robinson, Mark Wood, Chris Wokes, and then, of course, Jack Leach was also a touch expensive as well. So, Australia has probably ticked every box that is there. So we'll be talking about the Ashes, and then, of course, in the later half of the show, we'll be talking about football. And in football, it is huge news where we know that after 20 years, Barcelona have been knocked out of the Champions League group stages. The last time this happened was in 2001 and 2, but this time it's been Bayern Munich who knocked them out of the group stages. And even the manager of Barcelona, Xavi, also accepted that it's a reality check. We're playing the Europa this season. So we'll talk about that as well. Time now to start our cricket segment. In studios, we've been joined by our experts for cricket. First of all, a former Test cricketer, ICC match referee, also part of the PCB management every now and then in various roles, Colonel Naushad Ali. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa assalam.
How are you, sir?
Fine, thanks very much.
Good to have you on the show. We've also been joined by cricket expert Rizwan Haider. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Good to have you on the show as well.
Thank
right, because we're talking about Pakistan and the West Indies. Pakistan has just dominated Bangladesh in 3 T20s and 2 Test matches. But now against West Indies already have a big blow. Karn Pollard, their captain, couldn't make it to the series because he couldn't recover in time from his hamstring injury. So Nicholas Pooran will be leading the side. But it is international cricket. West Indies is coming. But good chance for Pakistan to try some combinations.
Well, of course, it's a welcome sign that West Indies are coming. That shows that the process of foreign team coming to Pakistan, play international cricket is still on. I mean, there was a little bit of setback when the New Zealand backed out, but now it's coming back. And I'm glad to see that all the matches they are played in Karachi. Obviously, is the reason is the weather in this northern part of Pakistan. So I think it will be a good sign, good omen. Pakistan, of course, should try and will try some youngsters. They should, why not? And they have a few upcoming youngsters, not only in the local T20, but also internationally as well. And I'm pretty sure that this series should be a good sign for the spectators, for the players as well, and a very good sign for spectators, particularly that it's been allowed that the whole stadium, if this is full, that will be a welcome thing.
Absolutely. If you're vaccinated, you can enjoy majority of the matches live in the stadiums as well. That was told by PCB chairman as well, who told you to get vaccinated if you're not yet vaccinated. That's a big alarm if you're not. But maybe you can and then enjoy cricket itself as well. But like Saab said, that it's maybe a time that we can try these experiments, make some combinations, give youngsters a chance. And Rizwan, the T20 World Cup is not that far. So we've got some time as well. So we need to be sure about what team we want to take.
Well, you have to be sure because, you have to take it seriously. I have a certain objection, when you say you're resting people like Hafiz and Shoaib Malik, you decide now, are they going to play the World Cup or not? Because Hafiz is yet to play a T20 in Australia as yet. He hasn't played a test match in Australia.
I was being nice.
You were very nice. No, I'm being serious. We have to be ruthless like Australia. Did they let Ponting linger on for 3 years extra, or one last series, or one last hooray, or Mark Waugh, Steve Waugh? They let McGrath and Shane Warne go in the same test match, the final test match. You know, I think Lilly and Marsh also played the final test match together. And somebody was saying, you know, for Hafiz, you know, they should let them go gradually, one in one series and one in another, because of the pressure they can absorb. But they don't absorb any pressure. They haven't won any matches for you. I'm surprised Fahim Ashraf hasn't made it into the team, because for the conditions like in Australia, you have to have all-rounders who, you know, the Abdul Razak type or the Lance Klusner types. So I'm not sure why he's not being tested in the T20 series now. Similarly, Wasim Jr. is a good choice. They have to give the youngsters a chance, because, you know, anyone can break down. In Australia, you're going to have 3 to 4 seamers or all-rounders, and fast bowling all-rounders are needed. So Fahim Ashraf should be given a chance. And you have to have sporting tracks, because, you know, if you make tracks like what Bangladesh did, you're going to be very happy and, you know, win 3 or 4 games, 3-0. But end of the day, you're not going to deliver in Australia. So I think we should be ruthless like Australia.
Ruthless like Australia is the call that Rizwan has made. But, sir, to be ruthless, we've got to change the system entirely. Ramiz Raja, as chairman PCB, is trying to make some tweaks here and there.
Now he means the batting ruthless.
Yeah, ruthless batting is needed. But considering, sir, that the World Cup is in Australia, Pakistan has had trouble in Australia. You know, let's be very honest.
I'll say like this: Pakistan has got always a problem where the ball is coming off the pitch a little bit high.
With the bounce.
With a little more bounce, like South Africa, like Australia, and some of the pitches even in England as well. So I think it could be a good choice if Pakistan do try it. Rightly he said so. There should be a mature play. They should also be tried along with the youngsters. The combination depends on the captain and the team management selectors as well. So I think we should try the youngsters. And how to try the youngsters? You have got only 6 matches in all.
3 T20s and 3
T20s and 3 ODIs. Let's decide first that who all are not going to play. I think probably they have decided few. They should decide few more as well. So it should be a good test for the selectors as well, to make a combination which is good enough for these matches, win the matches against West Indies, and make sure that some sort of arrangements are done for the Australian series as well.
Like you mentioned, Rizwan, that, you know, it's about time we move on. So if we want to move on, we can't make any excuses, because we've got the pool of players there. You've got Haider Ali, who you can develop if you give consistency. Khushdil, Iftikhar, Asif Ali. You know, you've got a pool of players that can be developed.
Of course. I mean, until unless you give them a chance. I mean, you know, until unless you give them a chance, there's no way to find out. I'm surprised, you know, these people have not been given chances, because the others who haven't been delivering, you know, if somebody is having a first-class average of 30, 32, like Shoaib Malik Hafiz, and test average of 30, and T20 averages, you know, strike rates below 120, about 120, 125, they're not good enough in the long run. India has done the same thing. India has made sure that the right players are in for the right job. They've got a completely different test setup. They've got a completely different one-day setup.
And a T20 setup.
And a completely different T20 setup. There are 3 or 4 players, because of course there are going to be people like Kohli and Dhoni who are going to, you know, adjust into every setup and Bumrah. But not everybody is meant for the same thing. We've done the right thing having Abdullah Shafiq, and, you know, in the test matches, probably you're going to try him out in the one-days and
yeah,
the
we
T20.
named him as a playing reserve in the ODI.
In the end, until and unless you give these players a chance to develop, you have to give them 8, 10, 12 matches. You know, you can't just say, you know, have 2 matches and then, you know, you're.
So do you also believe in segregating players for formats?
Certain players, yes. I mean, you know, certain players are good enough for certain things, but there are others like Rizwan has proved. Babar can play all 3 formats. Azhar Ali is doing well in the test setup, so that's fine with me. But in the long run, you have to have players who can deliver. If they're not delivering for 1 year, 2 years, you have to get rid of them and, you know, be ruthless.
Ruthless. It's all about Rizwan, #ruthless tonight. So that's how he's taking it. But sir, another alarm that has rung in my head is that Sarfaraz has not been named in the squad.
Yes.
I don't mind that, and because he was taken against Bangladesh, didn't get a game, just got 1 T20, and then he was benched now for the squad. But Pakistan is not looking towards developing a backup wicketkeeper right now, and that's a very serious concern.
No, why serious concern? You have quite a few youngsters. I mean, they could be good wicket keepers. We have seen in the local tournament here, we have already one from Islamabad, you know that. Sir. And then we have
but
one
he disappeared, sir.
Yes.
Sohail disappeared. He was part of the setup and then he disappeared.
Then he toured also, then he remained in the reserve, and now he's not in the lineup. I mean, they should try for him again. But Sarfaraz, of course, what I feel about Sarfaraz, I mean, he should be given one or more chance. If he doesn't perform, then Sarfaraz himself should say, all right, I had
I'll
enough.
call it a day
I'll
now,
call
yeah.
it a day. Otherwise, there are quite a few good wicket keepers in the domestic setup. You can pick up them, you can groom them, and then I'm pretty sure that they can deliver even if there is something wrong with Rizwan. So, wicket keeper, yes, there are quite a few batsmen as well. I mean, you were Khushdil Shah and others all, they came, they were sidelined for quite some time. When they were given a chance, they performed. They performed so very well. Even Haider Ali, you see how he's doing well. But I think this should be for a mature selector, it should be a plan for each and every player in terms of T20, in terms of ODI and the test match as well. And for if there is some qualification for being able to play all the three formats, there should be only one or two, like in Australia, like in South Africa, you have that. But otherwise, I think it is specialized cricket, professional cricket, where you have to have a T20 specialist with a lot of improvisation. There should be an ODI expert, and of course test match, the real cricket,
Yes,
you can call that.
Rizwan, that's very interesting that the dynamics of T20 now are taught professionally. There's a professional setup for power hitting. There's a professional setup for variations when you talk about change of pace, for innovative shots. So that's something where Pakistan needs to move on instead of just sticking to traditional cricket.
Of course, you have to. I mean, end of the day, in all setups in New Zealand and Australia, there are specialists who teach these things. They teach running between the wickets. They teach slip fielding. We've always had these problems that our players from first-class cricket, once they come into Test cricket, then they understand what calling is, how to say no in running between the wickets. It's sad, but you have to have professional coaches. We haven't got coaches at the local school level. You have to develop these things when they're, install them, these things, and then when they're, 8, 10, 12.
Grassroots levels,
And
yes.
yeah, that's the way to do it.
That's the way
But
forward.
the other thing I also noticed was, as Sir was saying, Sir Naushad, that you need specialists. I think overall, in the longer run, Test cricket is there for permanent reasons. Indefinitely, it's there to stay. We always thought that once one-day cricket came in, Test cricket will decline. It did to a certain extent, but otherwise it still remained the most popular format. But since T20, I think one-day cricket is on the decline because there's no interest. Now we're saying, if you remember, there were three: the first power play, the second in between overs, and the third power play, the 40th and 50th over. Now we're just seeing the first 10 and the 40th and 50th over in T20, and the youngsters, for somebody like you and me, we enjoy Test cricket, we enjoy all formats, but the youngsters are not watching one-day cricket as well because of. Would you agree, sir?
Yes,
That's
I
very true.
do agree. Yes.
So that is a dilemma now that then the ICC has to think about this. That do you want to keep ODI cricket just for ICC tournaments? Because the way things are going, cricket boards are very comfortable having a series of T20s and Test matches. One days are not talked about enough now.
You see, if you go back to the history, I mean, when ODI came into play, mid-70s probably, and that way people started saying that now it is the time that Test cricket is over, but Test cricket is still there. It has got its own flavor. When ODI came and it became very successful, particularly in Australia, because of various reasons. Now T20 has come. T20 people talk about the ODI will go back. Let us see. Let's have few changes, some experimentation in the formation of the ODI. Like he said, you 3. We could have 5 as well. We could have some sort of bowling relaxation. We could have the fielding relaxation. Then we see whether you have the same flavor of ODI or not, and compare it with the T20. But straight away, we reject it. It's not possible. Why? As far as the T20 is concerned, yes, youngsters they do like it because there is improvisation, there is the thrill,
Action,
and then for first 6 overs they are really exciting because close-in fielders. Everybody takes chances. When they take chances, there are more hits in that. And then there are close-in fielder as well. So all that makes it very interesting. So I think let us see and wait. And if the ODI loses its flavor, then you have some arrangement for that.
Absolutely, that can be done. Now moving on to the real format that we're talking about, and that is of course Test cricket. And Test cricket, Ashes couldn't get any better than that. And in the Ashes, we've got England being bowled out for 147. And then we see Australia in 84 overs scoring 343 runs, 7 wickets out, a lead of 196. It's complete dominance by Australia. Complete dominance.
No idea what they eat, for breakfast. Because, David Warner, if you remember, he came in as a T20 specialist, and he's one of those players who's come in as a T20 specialist, made his name in one-day cricket, and now in Test match cricket over the last so many years, he's been doing so well. And even Australian cricket has had their scandals like match fixing, Shane Warne and Mark Waugh, drugs, and ball tampering later on, but they always come back strong. In the last 30 years, actually since 1987 when they won the World Cup, it's been complete dominance by Australia over the last 35, 40 years, and it's only short periods of time where India was very good, or England played well, or Pakistan was good in patches, but they've been completely dominant in all formats. 5 World Cups they've won. They've now won the T20 World Cup.
In UAE.
In UAE, where everyone was expecting that they won't. And also in Test match cricket, they've got the longest streaks of winning, and every team, it's their dream to go to Australia and beat them. It's just not possible. And England is a very, very weak batting.
That's probably the
lineup.
most weakest England we've ever
I'm
seen.
surprised, they've got such a big, such a good structure of first-class cricket, about 16 teams playing.
Well, then talk us through the wicket of Roddy Burns. The first wicket.
I know, first ball, and he's down the leg side. I don't know what he was doing. I had no idea what he was thinking. It was a beautiful ball, but it was not like, that you get beaten hands up like Courtney Walsh is batting or Danny Morrison is batting, not the tail enders. It's really shocking.
People actually said Stuart Broad could have done better job at that. But to trust me, like I said, social media is a frenzy. But so what's interesting is that I was watching the strike rates. Warner played with a strike rate of above 50. Marnus Labuschagne had a strike rate of 70. Travis Head had a strike rate of 117 in Test cricket. 117.
Okay.
So imagine that, sir, in Test cricket.
Well, I think it's something new. Brisbane pitch is one of those where it's pretty easy to score as compared to Perth or your Melbourne, where you have more bouncy pitches. I still remember we had a camp of about 2 weeks at Brisbane, Gabba, and we had about Wasim, Waqar, and everybody else there. And would you believe it, we really enjoyed that camp for about 2 weeks. And they were absolutely good for preparation for the coming series with against Australia. And in that condition, in that pitches, scoring so very high that indicates that either there is some change in the approach of the batsman or some decline in the bowling standards of the bowler.
But sir, if you look at England, they focus so much on white ball cricket.
Yeah.
I look at the likes of Marcus Trescothick, Nick Knight, then of course later on Alistair Cook, Andrew Strauss going as an opener for them, Jonathan Trott, Nasir Hussain, Kevin Peterson, Ian Bell, technically sound batsmen. Now they've got a real problem where I don't see a technically sound batsman anymore, apart from Joe Root.
Well, I think there is a need to see that why this batsman coming and planning for the long inning is not coming up. Of course, county cricket is just like it's the same all the time. I mean, same conditions, same facilities, same players, same competition, and same administration as well. So there's a change. Then they should have some sort of experimentation within the county cricket to ensure that the batsmen they do come who have got the real foundation like Mushtaq Mohammed, foundation like Salim Malik, foundation like Inzamam Ulaq. They come, they play themselves. Not only that, but they ensure that the other batsman also is settled and scores the run as well.
Rizwan, you agree that this problem that they've got of not having technically sound batsmen anymore might just be costly to them?
It's going to be. I mean, I was hoping for a good competitive Ashes from the English. But if they can't compete in Gabba, there's no way they're going to compete at the WACA, with the Australian bowling attack and even MCG. I think England has specialised really well, done really well in the short format. But it's all about getting all 3 formats right, and the only team that's doing it consistently is Australia. Even we are not doing that.
Well, I had a bit of a brief where they even wanted to tweak the Kookaburra as well because they said it wasn't swinging as much. But if it swings any more than this, I think England is all done for corners this time.
Yes.
So maybe they should just forget about the Ashes this season.
They should. and another thing that I noticed was, is it the first season that they're not having any one-day internationals like the triangular series?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
they always had it.
That just shows that the decline of interest in one-day cricket.
In one-day cricket as
and
well.
Another thing, so if you don't mind, In the 80s and 90s, when one-day cricket was doing really well, they were having numerous tournaments, having triangulars, quadrangulars, 5 teams. They're just not happening anymore.
That's very true. I think the concept of a tri-series, even in Australia, we've seen India, Sri Lanka, Australia, or England, Australia, somebody else for that matter. I think that's the way forward. But Colonel Saab and Rizwan, thank you so much for joining us. One thing is for sure, that Rizwan kept on saying ruthless. I think Australia took that ruthless tag against England. That's how they're taking it. On that note, we'll go towards a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with football. Welcome back to Sports Extra. Time now for our football segment. In studios, we've been joined by football expert, youth coach, and now anchor Sabeel Hazir. Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome, Aslam.
How are you?
I'm good now that I'm on this side of the table.
But I heard you had a good run this last time.
Well, I hope it was good.
But trust me, it was good. We really enjoyed that part of the show. It would have been more better if I was sitting on the other side. Then we would have exchanged those roles as well. But we're going to be talking about Barcelona. What's going on? What has happened? Let's go watch this report and then come back.
Barcelona crashed out of the Champions League in the group stage for the first time in over 20 years with a 3-0 defeat at the hands of Bayern Munich. Xavi Hernandez's side were duly outclassed by an already qualified Bayern who made it 6 wins out of 6 in the group. This exit continues a miserable campaign for the Spanish Giants after financial issues forced them to let club legend Lionel Messi leave on a free transfer to PSG. Leroy Sané's powerful strike doubled Bayern's lead, and then Jamal Musiala made it 3-0 just after the hour. Barcelona last went out of the Champions League in the group stage in 2001 when a team featuring a 20-year-old Xavi finished third in their section behind AC Milan and Leeds United. The 5-time European champions will now drop into the Europa League knockout round playoffs, a competition they have not disputed since 2004 season.
There you go, all you need to know about Barcelona 2001, 2002 and now 2021, that they've been knocked out of the group stages for the first time. 20 years. Sabeel, I look at it this way. Maybe the heavens wanted them to win a Europa League after 20 years.
I think perhaps the heavens wanted them to have a chance of a European competition. Look, everybody knows, Barcelona fans, the management, anybody who watches football knows this is an utter embarrassment, genuinely an embarrassment. Now, I'm not one of those people who hates on the Europa League. I think there's a lot of merit to it, and I have a lot of respect for a lot of the middle tier clubs that go and perform. But for Barcelona to not play in the Champions League knockout stages, even getting knocked out in the round of 16 is not good enough for them, let alone not even making it to the round of 16. So this is complete embarrassment this season. If they don't win the Europa League, genuinely they have to win that. I think they're not the best team in it. I think Dortmund's a better team. I think myself and Ali spoke about this yesterday, how maybe Porto are the team to beat there. But they need to go on and win this now, and that still is not good enough. Even if they win the Europa League, it's embarrassing.
It's not just about the Champions League. If I look at their La Liga campaign as well, it's embarrassing.
Yes, they're what, 7th, I think. Last time we spoke, they were 8th.
Yeah.
Now they're 7th, so they're not much better. They're not doing too well in any regard. But in the league, the advantage is they have till the end of the season to claw back a top 4 finish, and even then we'll go like, okay, bad season, it's acceptable. There's no clawing back. There's no way you're getting back in the Champions League this season, so there's no way you can claw this back.
Asad has just given us a head up. Asad is saying that when Xavi came, they were 10 points behind Real. Now they're 16 points behind them.
Okay, so 10 and 16. So are they any closer to the title with Xavi? No. But the one thing that gives me hope is that Xavi understands what is expected of the club, and you give him a whole summer to rebuild. You give him a little bit of time this January as well, and I think they'll be a better Barcelona. They need to play under him for a while, and they also need to, let's be honest, his standards are something that only a couple of players in that team who have either played with him or who are of that mentality are up to. The rest of them have to get up to those standards that Xavi will demand of them. And after this, they need to they need to put all the effort in the league, and they need to be walking in the Europa League unless they're playing one of the bigger teams that have dropped down.
I understand that they've got problems. I understand Messi was just too much for him to leave. But had they not realized that one way or the other this would happen eventually one day, should have actually had, you know, players made around Messi that could have taken the club towards the same standards.
I think alarm bells should have started ringing. Well, they've been ringing for a couple of seasons. Even Messi's last season was pretty bad for the club overall. But alarm bells should start ringing when they let Messi go in the fashion they did. Because that's when, you know, Barcelona are in trouble. Financially, off the pitch, they've had issues, but it's impacting them far too much on the pitch. Now, when Messi left, right, he left a gaping hole. And that hole has to be filled. Yes, you will never replace the best player of all time. You will never replace your club, even if that's disputable. He's undisputably your club's greatest ever player. You will never dispute him, replace him, and you will never be able to fill that hole completely. But you make sure there's a team in place that can actually take over. He left, and that's about 50 goal involvements you've gotten rid of. And that's not the only problem. They're shipping a lot more goals, a lot more issues. They just seem, with Xavi now, hopefully they'll start playing the Barcelona style again, but they seem, we say this about PSG a lot, they seem devoid of any real plan when they go against bigger teams. They just seem out of their depth, like a mid-table side.
That's very true indeed. But now, like you mentioned, that maybe if he gets more time, Xavi can maybe make something out of this team. But because it's been them and Real Madrid who have been, you know, sort of filters for La Liga that have been mentioned throughout the ages. That's where most of the football viewership has gone to, and El Clasico, La Liga, and everywhere. But at least they could have replicated the same thing, that when Ronaldo left, Madrid did not even end up as close to being as bad as they are right now.
100%. I think, look, people who are, on one hand, you can say, okay, Ronaldo wasn't as crucial to Barcelona's culture as Messi was to Barcelona. But overall, they lost the best goal scorer in the history of the Champions League. They've lost a massive player. How did they fill in those gaps? They had players waiting in the ranks who could come through. They bought a few players while he was there, and a few new players coming in afterwards.
They could foresee it happening.
Yeah, and they had a system in place where, okay, we're not going to do well, but they also had Karim Benzema, who is, it's not like he was on the decline. He was still performing at that top level, and he's continued to do so since Ronaldo has left. Messi left, Suarez left. Like, MSN, out of those three, not a single one is left at that club. Out of Bale, Benzema and Cristiano, Benzema's still the same player. Yes, they've lost Cristiano, and then obviously there's issues with Bale, but they had players and they had a plan. Barcelona got rid of Messi. Okay, we're getting rid of him, at least have a plan. Like you said, Real Madrid had a plan when Ronaldo went. It wasn't the best plan in the world, but they had a plan. They had nothing. And it was very obvious to see that they were panicking. Everything was happening because of chaos in the back. The stuff we couldn't see on the pitch was happening, and that's what caused all of these problems you see now.
Well, in between, they've been having a problem with the management as well. The CEO going and then sacking of the manager, then Xavi coming in. And, you know, now all of a sudden he's been told that he's the one who's going to save them. So there are a lot of problems. But in their development program, in their players right now, do you see a bright prospect that could be that one for Barcelona?
So one thing that we have to give Barcelona credit for is La Masia. They've always got these young players coming through. And now you've got two brilliant players in that squad right now. You've got Pedri and Gavi. Now you have players like that coming through, and Barcelona will always produce great players. The issue is, can you utilize them like you have in the past? Now, when you see them play, you go like, okay, yeah, there's definitely that potential, and they seem to play the Barcelona way, and they know what to do, and they're very good players. But then you're wondering, well, how do you fit these guys into the system? Who's nurturing them right now? You've got Busquets, yes, but when, for example, Messi came through, you had Ronaldinho, you had Eto'o, you had players like that to help guide this young kid become the player he is. Obviously, they're not solely responsible, but having those guiding figures helps, especially helps you settle in. Right now, these boys have been thrust in and gone like, you need to save our club. That shouldn't be the case. It's like, you guys should come in and help make yourself names in this club. But what does it say of a club when you put your hopes and dreams on the shoulders of an 18 or 19-year-old after letting your best player go?
Eventually, it's going to turn out with a lot less for La Liga. Eventually.
But if Xavi can, which I do, I have full faith that Xavi can turn this around, and I have full faith that Barcelona is a big enough club that they can get the right people in, even at the boardroom level, to sort this mess out. But they need to do this season. Fine, one write-off, you get that. This can never happen again. Barcelona should never, ever play in the Europa League after this.
Yeah, they should never, let alone not lose it. I think, like I said, maybe they've got a chance to win that trophy after 20 years. But that being said, their fate is definitely on the line. We're going a bit off topic, not just staying to the Champions League. Last night we had one of the most sensational news in world football, and that was Zidane debuting for Manchester United.
Yes.
Your thoughts on that?
So you have this It's a brilliant thing. Look, I'm a bit 50-50 and I'll explain why. So part of me is overjoyed because when you see anybody who has any connection to the country you're from do well, it should give you a sense of pride and it makes you feel very happy. Which is what I see when I see this young boy. Robbie Savage's son also made his debut. Apparently they've been at United for 15 years together.
Yes.
Yeah. So to see them both go on, beautiful moment. And it's really good to see a Pakistani origin. Obviously, I think he plays for Iraq under 23. Yeah. So to see players like that, but he still has connections to your country, so it's good to see him do well. But what irks me is that he's obviously going to pick Iraq. He's not going to pick Pakistan. And so I've always believed this to be true. If Pakistan wants to do something with its national team, now we're banned right now. So the first thing is get yourself unbanned. That's the first thing. But in terms of players, right? Going to academies abroad, going to Germany, going to places with a big population of Pakistanis and go and see their academies there in those cities, and if there are any players who you can possibly get. Because, for example, Iraq, he's playing under 23s. Pakistan can just can offer these guys a full international cap at age 16 because they'll be better than most of the players we have.
They should have done that.
They should have done that. They should have figured out a way to do that. Go scout it out. Stop wasting your time with all the politics. Just go and bet the best players. This kid could have been at 16 given a full cap for Pakistan, and then it might sound a terrible thing, but then he's trapped playing for you forever. But at least he gets to be that big fish in your small pond, and you can sell it to people like that. And I guarantee you there are more people like this youngster around Europe who we are going to just let slip through our fingers.
But that's been the case, hasn't it? Even if you've been working around with the youth, you've been playing football at the local level in Pakistan, some competitive with you and your friends. Even if you do come across a talent, you got to feel sorry for the guy that if he doesn't move out, he's not going to have a chance to play on the big stage.
100%. Look, people say this talent in Pakistan. Well, that's not really an argument. There's talent everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Why would anybody invest? You have to invest in your talent because they have enough people in their academies. If you want to give your kids a shot, you need to invest in them. And if they don't leave the country, you're right, they don't really have a chance.
What's the incentive? Even if you're investing in someone, at the back of his mind, he will have it that, look, my country is banned. I'm never going to make an international debut here. The only reason I'm trying to, play football or having the country invest in me eventually is that I go play a league somewhere around the world.
Yeah, then look, everybody will, if they're serious and if they have that opportunity, for a lot of these people who come from poorer backgrounds, it's a good salary. And if you play at, for example, these department teams, you can make an okay salary and you can do fine in your life. But most of these people who have dreams, if they're given a chance to grow abroad, obviously they will. If any of them were even given a chance, and this sounds like an awful thing to say, if you tomorrow offered them any other passport except ours, they take it because they know they'd have more opportunities. So the talent locally is never being nurtured. So by the time they're adults,
like
they're not
I
good
can
enough.
put it this way, that because you're working with youth in Scotland as well, over there a young boy or a young girl would eventually know that at time they're going to play for one of their clubs because they've got a good structure, or make it to the Premier League, or the highlight would be debuting for Scotland. That's like a 3-tier something that they can choose. Over here, you won't have that.
So I'll give you an example. Now, the kids I coach, I know most of them aren't, look, this isn't a professional academy where every kid is aiming to be a pro, but even then, some of our kids do get those opportunities. Now, when training them just to make them good players, make sure they have a safe, enjoyable environment to play football, but those who want to be a bit more competitive, we train them for that. And I've had kids who I've trained now, not because of me, they were talented kids and they were always going to make it because of their hard work, but they've been signed to professional academies because they have opportunities. There are people that want to nurture their talent and give them the best. And who knows, maybe some of them go and play for Scotland, maybe the women's team, maybe the men's team, but at the very least, they've been given the opportunity to train in such a good environment. Over here, that's not going to happen. And look, if there's a kid of Asian origin, these countries that are over here, if they don't have good academies, just start getting them, give them full international caps.
The first debate is clear that you need to lift that ban that FIFA has.
You need to do what they tell you.
Let's say in another year or two, you're able to achieve that.
Yeah.
But still, that will not make any sense unless there is a miracle with your infrastructure.
Yeah, if you're looking for local players from here, otherwise you have to go abroad, go into these academies, get a 16-year-old lad, give him a full cap and tell him you play for Pakistan. Now, no 16-year-old is going to turn down a full international cap, no matter what country offers it to them, and that's how you do it. And then you have to fix your infrastructure and the ban. Look, we are not a footballing superpower. We have to do as told, and we cannot have these fights with FIFA. We just can't. We can't afford to do that,
I
unfortunately.
mean, I cannot even imagine our international ranking right now.
I think we're bottom. We probably are. We're banned, right?
Yeah.
So how bad could it be?
If Zidane could go and play for Iraq, who have been a war-torn country,
Yeah.
still have managed to have a better infrastructure of football than us.
The last time I saw a Pakistan game, it was, I don't remember if it was the 2018 World Cup qualifiers, right after the 2014 World Cup finished, because we have played pre-qualifiers, and we lost to war-torn Yemen. These are the countries beating us. And no offense to them, obviously they have a better football structure and they deserve to win if they're better than us, but 200 million people, please, we have to do better. We have to do better for our people, and we need better infrastructure for our kids.
Definitely. Sabeel, thank you so much for joining us on Sports Extra and letting your heart out, because it truly means a lot when you talk about Pakistan, and for our football to excel, there needs to be a miracle over here. We'll leave it at that from me and the entire team. It's goodbye for now.